Hi, good morning everybody. This is Ty Dragon Gardening and Cooking Channel. And today, Annabella and I, Charlie's out here with me too, and Wendy's out here too. Come on, Wendy. Wendy, come on. Come over here. Come on, get in your chair. They all want to be part of the garden today. We're going to talk to you about something very important. It's gardening by planting some of the most heat-resistant crops. So that way they're going to do well for you and you're not going to get discouraged with your garden. Want to go explore? I'm going to let her explore while I talk to you. Gotta look at my cheat sheet. I'm getting old. Can't remember everything all the time. Definitely want to see what I'm talking about. These are some of the best heat-tolerant vegetables that you can plant in your garden to have a successful harvest going into your fall months. So if you've been hit by those 100-degree temperatures, and even with the shade cloth, things were starting to droop, there is hope ahead. These cooler mornings, my pepper plants shut down on me, but now they're starting to produce again. So I'm excited about that because now they may start doing something. I've got tomatoes that have flowers on them now, and some of my other stuff is starting to grow now that it's gotten a little bit cooler this morning. Anyway, the best heat-tolerant vegetables for you to plant. One of the first ones is your bean plants, especially your green beans. They're great for succession planting. So when you have a group that's starting to look droopy, get those seeds in the ground right behind it. Pick what you need to off those old plants, and if you don't think they're going to produce anymore and they're done, pull them. The other ones are going to grow right on up. The Royalty Purple Pod are fun to grow. A lot of people really like them to mix them in with their green just for the color. It is really pretty when you can mix 2 or 3 different colors of a vegetable, and you want to try it. They taste really good too. Plant pole beans to grow up a trellis. We've made some different types of trellises just by taking like 3 poles, wiring together at the top, and then spreading them out to kind of form a teepee. It works great for your bean plants. Also, there are inexpensive trellises that you can buy this time of year, usually in the stores. Amazon's got some for around $20, and then you just have to buy the netting, and that's usually under 10 bucks. So you can have a really nice trellis system for, you know, under $25-$30, depending on what you want. I have grown stuff using old pallets before to make a trellis. I've taken old shutters that we didn't have any use for anymore. They're great to even wire pots on them, and they'll hold it. Another thing is if you have like an old door that you don't use anymore and it's just kind of falling apart, to give you that rustic look, you can take part of that door out, put that heavy screen in the middle of it, and then hang pots off of it, or you can hang a long planter off of it and then let beans and stuff grow up that wire on the door, and it looks really cool. You can put it as an entrance or a conversation piece in the garden or up next to a trellis. If you're trying to attract hummingbirds, they like that seclusion and they really don't want to be around other birds and stuff. So it's kind of a neat little way of making a little hiding spot for them. We've had red birds that have made their nests and stuff in trumpet vine and honeysuckle and stuff just by using those type of ideas for trellises, and so the stuff can grow up of it. So it's an idea to do, you know, for your beans. They don't take up a lot of room and they really taste great. Corn, your sweet corn, they like the hot, dry weather. So, but you want to remember to plant them on an edge somewhere where they can get wind, because they wind pollinate. And so if you plant them somewhere that they're not getting any airflow, they're not going to do very well for you. So make sure that when you plant corn, that it's in an area where there's good airflow, and so they can get the wind pollination. And you can even just walk by and shake the plant, and it will help with the pollination on your corn. Cucumbers. There are so many different types of cucumbers, but I firmly, after having bad luck with planting some different type that produced me mostly male flowers, and I ended up with about 4 cucumbers out of 20 plants, I was kind of discouraged this year. The heat was really hard on them. So I started planting, and I always say this word wrong. I think it is called parthenocarpic. Plant some of those type. They don't need to be pollinated. They're self-pollinating, and see if you don't have better luck. There's about 50 different brands that are that way, and they are anywhere from your snacking cucumbers that you can just go out in the garden and pick one, and that are real small, to your pickling cucumbers, and even your slicers, and the little ones that are great for snacks. If you're trying to get the party time, though, that Burby Seed sells, you have to get on the bandwagon really quick with that, because they are always sold out, and you have to keep checking the website to see when they get some in stock. For some reason, that particular brand goes super quick, and we weren't able to get any ourselves this year, so we're looking forward to maybe next year with that. Eggplants, they're much more productive in the hot weather, but not scorching hot. They do thrive in the heat, but if it gets too hot, like anything, they go into their little safety and protection mode, where they kind of shut down and they don't do a whole lot. So, but eggplants are great because they can provide shade for your other plants. A good thing to plant with them is, I like planting strawberries underneath, because they make great shade for the smaller plants. So it's just a helpful hint. But if you like, and another thing about eggplants, some people really don't like them at all, but what I found with the eggplants, if you pick them while they're younger and smaller and slice them up, and you fix them with squash and potatoes and some other vegetables, they kind of pick up on the flavor of some of the other vegetables, and they really do taste good then. Another tip with the eggplant is, a lot of people will peel them and cut the meat out of the center, and if you don't care for that thick rind on the eggplant or mess with it, just cut it off. There's a lot of meat in that eggplant, so they are a really good thing to plant. Another thing that's not probably everybody's favorite, but they're an excellent choice when the temperature's soar, is okra. And you can direct sow until usually July, sometimes first part of August. Check to see when your first frost date is. But they're great for gumbo, making fried okra. They're a great addition to your soups and your stews. So, and some people just like snacking on it by themselves. So that is another good vegetable to get in the ground. Your peppers, your jalapenos are some of the easiest ones for you to grow, but there's many types and desired heatness flavors available. You just want to remember when you are planting peppers, though, that if you are getting some of those hot habaneros or some of the ghost peppers and things like that, that you actually warn people, because there are some people that do become allergic and can only eat the sweet bell peppers or the banana peppers, and they can't eat the other kind, or they have a lot of acid reflux and stuff, and it's not healthy for them to eat that. So you want to make sure that you let them know that you're using something like that, and so they know whether or not they can tell you, hey, that's something I can't have. So we use peppers a lot when we're making our salsa, and I like planting more of the sweet peppers. I like the different colors. The black, reds, yellows, oranges. There's different ones that'll turn different colors, and even if you pick them when they're green and you put them in another area, or you let them ripen up in a bag, they will turn the color they're supposed to turn. So that's another thing that you want to remember. There's different colors, different types, and plant the ones your family are going to enjoy. Don't plant something and just because you want to watch it grow if it's not going to be of any use to you or anyone else in the family. The peppers, like I said, there is a wide variety, and I have a lot of pepper plants here, but our family really likes peppers. And I tell you what, if you have been to the store and you look at peppers, for every pepper I pick, I tell myself there's $1.25. So they don't seem to be getting any cheaper. So you want to get some peppers in the ground. Sunflowers, some people call it a vegetable, some people call it a flower, because there are some people that'll actually harvest out the sunflowers and bake them, and the family will eat them. Mom did it when we were growing up. She was always very successful with it, so she always had a few sunflowers planted around the front near the rose bushes and stuff, as kind of a neat background. Of course, living on the farm, we always thought it was kind of neat to have sunflowers. But if your temperatures are way over the hundreds for days and days and days, even they will buckle in the heat. So you want to be really careful with that. If it is just too hot, make sure that they're getting the water that they need, because the heat just zaps the water from the soil, and you may need to put like some straw or hay or something down on the ground to mulch and help protect that plant so it retains the moisture. But they are great for pollinators, they're great for cut flowers. A lot of people will press them. So sunflowers have a lot of uses. The Evening Sun sunflower brand is really neat because it produces multiple heads, and so I really like that. And another thing that I've noticed, because I do feed the birds a lot, is if the bird seed has a lot of black oil sunflower seeds, over time I will end up with stray sunflowers growing, and depending on where they're growing at, a lot of times I will just leave them. They won't get as tall as some of the other ones that I plant myself, but usually anywhere 4 to 5 foot tall, which is still kind of neat. The redbirds really love them. And when it got hot and dry, I just cut the heads off of them, was able to pull the seeds after it was dry and mix the seeds in, and they ate it. So I even took some of the sunflower heads and just laid them on a tray, and went out the next morning and the birds had picked them over. So they are another good thing to plant. Swiss chard, some people love it, some people don't, but it's great as a substitute in salads. You can choose anything from a mild green or even the rainbow color, which is kind of a red color. Plant them both and have a mixture. They look really pretty in a salad, and it does give your salad a little bit different taste. But like us, we like mixing different types of lettuces and different types of greens in our salad anyway, with our tomatoes and cucumbers, and oh my god, I throw all kinds of stuff in a salad. I will put grapes and strawberries in a salad, blueberries. My son Kai does not like to use salad dressing on his salads, and I know other people that don't use salad dressing on their salads, and you know that is absolutely great because all the calories are right there in that dressing. I don't know how he does it, but he does. So I like putting a lot of fruit in with my salads. I'll mix a lot of different types of greens. A lot of times then I'll throw the small snacking cucumbers in there and slice them up. Some of the different types of tomatoes and get a different color variety going in there. Maybe a little bit of purple cabbage. And let's see, what else do I usually throw in the salad? Oh, and then that's when I'll pick a fruit. If I have clementines, I'll throw some clementines in there. If I have strawberries laying around, I'll put a few strawberries in there. Grapes is another thing that is just awesome. I cut those usually in halves or quarters, and I'll put them in a salad. So get some of that Swiss chard planted, you know. And some people also use that in soups and stews too. So it might be something that if you've never tried it before, you may end up really liking it. Another thing that you want to get in the ground, because it's very heat tolerant and pretty easy to grow. You just have to watch for the darn vine-borers and they're nasty little creatures. Usually towards the middle of August, you don't have to worry about them so much. There's about 7 other pests that you have to worry about, like the squash bugs and stuff. But summer squash and zucchini. Your patty pan and yellow straight are the most productive plants to grow. You can direct sow them or start them indoors as seedlings under a grow light. Almost always when you're planting squash, do some succession planting, because like I said, you don't know. The pests seem to like to bother the squash plants. As a deterrent and a little trick that I learned when I'm planting my squash, especially if I'm doing some of the yellow squash, is I will plant yellow marigolds next to the squash plant or yellow zinnias. It seems to help detour the vine-borers and some of the other bugs away from the plants. And I don't know whether it's the yellow color on the flowers or the flowers themselves. So I have found that that works. Another thing that I found was small yellow bowls that we have gotten from ice cream places that actually look like a flower. You know, they taper down at the bottom and kind of bell out. I have actually put those down in the ground and put a little bit of wine inside of them with a little bit of soap. Doesn't seem to hurt other things, but the bugs, the bad bugs will tend to land in there and stay away from my plant. So I'm not hurting my pollinators, which is, you know, I don't want to do. But I keep a lot of water stations around for my pollinators, and I do a lot with the sugar water because it's easy to do. And if we do get hummingbirds, it's great, you know, because that way I've already got humming feeders around. But if I want to make a butterfly feeder or a bug feeder out of that, all I have to do is take some string, put it through the hole and tie a knot through it where it doesn't come through. The string is down in that solution and then hangs out through the flower, and the pollinators will land on it and they can get their drink. So keep some watering stations around for your pollinators, and it'll help attract them to your garden. And you want to keep them hanging around places that you really need a lot of pollination, and you need the pollinators. So we've got some hanging near our watermelon cantaloupe because they flower, and some of my cucumbers that I depend on pollinators to grow. I've got some around there. Tomatoes, of course, different things like that. And of course I also have the little bug houses out near my flower beds just to help attract them. You don't see the ladybugs like you used to. I'm hoping by next year that we'll be able to get some more. We had praying mantis eggs and waited and waited for them to hatch. Never did see any results, and then come to find out maybe a few of them did hatch, but they were hanging out in the pear tree. So where they go from there, I don't know. But anyway, your summer squash, zucchini, patty pan, yellow straight neck, get some of your squash plants in the ground. You'll be glad you did. Squash tastes amazing, and there's so many different things you can do with it. Also, last but not least, a heat-tolerant vegetable to plant. Some varieties of tomatoes are very heat-tolerant as well. If you need to, because you know, it's getting late in the season, go to the nurseries, get some of the starter plants that are already, you know, a foot or two in height, and then get them in the ground. You want to make sure that you plant those roots deep. So dig your hole deeper than what the pot is, so you get that root down in the ground good and deep. Even if you have to pull off a few of the leaves, you're going to find out it's not going to take any time at all for that plant to grow. And especially if you get the ones that are determinate. Those are the tomato plants that are already established as far as how big they're going to get. They're not going to continue to grow like an indeterminate plant. And so they will only reach a certain amount of height and width, and they're going to produce a certain amount of tomatoes. And then once they're done, and you'll be able to tell because they'll pretty much stop flowering and doing anything altogether. So those are 10 of my favorite heat resistant plants to get in the garden. I hope you guys have a lot of success with your gardens. Get out there and plant some of those plants, and if you need to, shade cloth. It's really not that expensive. It's not that hard to put up. There's so many different ways you can put it up, anywhere from getting wooden posts to, like we use PVC pipe, and some of the fence posts to put ours up. What it does when you do that though, your pipe is going to give and it's going to bend a little bit, but that's okay, because when on these windy days, it gives the shade cloth room to, you know, play, you know, to go up and down like it needs to, and so it'll last. I mean, we have left it up before, you know, throughout the winter and not taken it down, and it has been fine. So we keep that in mind. My little Wendy, the wander dog, is after a squirrel, so I may have to go tend to her. I like the squirrels and the birds, just don't want them getting anything out of the garden. But here lately, they've been discovering the watermelon, and just when they're starting to grow, so we gotta just keep feeding them somewhere else so they stay out of there. Anyway, you guys have a blessed day. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. We're new starting out, but we have generations after generations of gardeners in our family, and a lot of tips and tricks along the way to share with you. Get your kids involved. Children love helping out in the garden, even if it's just helping with the harvesting. Anyway, Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you, we need you, and we thank you. Have a blessed day.